Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center with you on this Friday, tracking some severe weather now toward the Jacksonville television market area. 2 yellow boxes on the screen for potential severe thunderstorms to about 9:30. That's when they're scheduled to expire towards St. Johns County in the First Coast region, and then as we get up toward areas in southeastern Georgia for Glenn County around Brunswick. So we need to be kind of cognizant of what's going on. Right now, let's go ahead and zoom in first to the St. Augustine area. That warning here, Roy Watson things west of St. Augustine, right down to the Ward Golf Village, moving east at about 15 miles an hour. St. Augustine Beach, St. Augustine Shores, Butler Beach, Volano Beach, St. Augustine South, and Anastasia here on this thread. I-95, and this is one. We're going to pull up a traffic camera from the Florida 511 perspective in just a moment, but this is going to impact folks toward the beaches here, so that's something to keep in mind as we're looking there towards St. Johns County. Now that sea breeze playing a role, and that has been something where we're getting this accident really develop. It's been a hot day around, and able to see the development really kind of set on up here. We're seeing some of this accident earlier on. It was kind of just lingering. Sometimes when that happens here, you have that interaction, and then you have problems, folks. And that's what we're starting to potentially see right now near I-95. So let's go ahead and pull up that traffic system right now. We have a traffic camera pulled up, in fact. So let's go ahead and pull that onto the screen so you guys can see it here. And you can definitely see some nasty conditions here. I-95 a mile marker 312. A lot of lightning out there at this present point in time. So Florida 511 perspective, I-95 there. A lot of lightning, a lot of electrical energy, and then the wind enhancement maybe just further up here from this camera shot. I would think at this point, I'm going to see if I can get right in the middle of it, because it should be right across the interstate right now, but this is just off from it just a little, maybe with the worst of it. But you can kind of get a good perspective on some of the clouds. It looks like that camera there might be kind of, that feed might be getting lost for a second there, but again, I'm going to keep checking to see if we can find something maybe closer up to the worst of this, and maybe into the premium outlets here. We're going to try to pull up a camera in that area to where mile marker 317. I tried to give you guys a perspective on what's going on, and definitely getting a little bit more into it here. So let's go ahead and pull this up right now. You guys can see what we're talking about there. Some of the electrical energy in play in that vicinity as well. So again, severe thunderstorm warning in play on 9:30 for parts of St. Johns County. Trying to give you those views there on the traffic camera shots as we get in here right now. Looking at some wind enhancement. I know velocity didn't overly really present this, but the problem is, I know at this angle, this distance, and the heavy rainfall, and I feel like this setup would probably lead to more favorable potential for the wind to get down toward the surface. So that's something to keep in mind here right at sunset. Folks, traveling on a Friday night could lead to accidents here along the road, not out of the question. Got to be really careful in that regard. So again, severe thunderstorm warning about 9:30 here. Trying to give you guys the very latest to protect you, your friends, and your family. Trying to see what we have here with the very latest. Again, we're looking there towards State Road 16 and some of those different spots with some of the worst of this. So again, trying to give you guys an idea of where we're at. There's some of our bearings on this type of situation. That we're in. So trying to get off even further now on the traffic cameras as we continue along here. The nasty commute maybe, or just travel conditions in play. Mile marker 321. More of that lightning visible there, it would seem, as this gets closer toward the historic St. Augustine on a Friday night. That's an area that's vulnerable to flooding in the St. Augustine Beach as well. I know if this kind of is moving as slow as it looks, and that could be a problem for those folks as we get in toward that area. So only moving right now at 15 miles an hour. So looking at storm total rain here, we've seen some areas over an inch and could get more than that into St. Augustine over the next little bit. You see some gusty winds in between here. Earlier on in Duval, we were watching that accident, but then a warning toward Brunswick we need to touch on as well here. This is in effect until 9:30 as well for central Glenn County. At 8:27, a severe thunderstorm is located near Everett, or 8 miles, it looks like, north of Dock Junction, moving east about 10 miles an hour Brunswick, as well as St. Simon's Island, Dog Junction, St. Simon's Island Village, Country Club Estates, Sea Island, and Boys Estate under this. So gotta be careful as we're looking toward that area. I know they got hit pretty hard on Tuesday night up there toward Glenn County. Hopefully this isn't as substantial as that storminess there that we had in South Georgia on Tuesday night. As we just got an update, he just continued this warning at 8:39. It's a thunderstorm was looking under Dock Junction, moving southeast at 10 miles an hour. So Brunswick, St. Simon's Island, Dock Junction, St. Simon's Island Village, Country Club Estate, Sea Island, and Boys Estate. So again, got to be kind of careful in that area. The worst right now more towards Sterling, so maybe Brunswick downtown might miss the worst of this because they just kind of got a little bit of the downtown out of this warning. But you can see here Dock Junction in here. You see some lighting popping up, so folks around the more populated area that are maybe still having some issues whenever thunder roars going towards whether we have a warning or not. I mean, or even an advisory. Lightning can be deadly no matter what. Here it is. Cloudy and strikes can impact you, your friends, or your family, or just a building can catch fire occasionally. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, but a tree can get hit, catch fire. That's always something we got to be bearing in mind as we go ahead and keep giving you guys the very latest here. Keep giving you guys the very latest to protect you, your friends, and your family, as we emphasize here. As we get back down to St. Johns County now, and the I-95 corridor, you can see some of the worst of the wind starting to edge into the west side of town of St. Augustine, more the downtown area here, it would seem, in the city. You can kind of see here our geography as we try to give you that, and a topography look at things. Again, some nasty weather popping up. I know they're not in a formal risk down here around St. Augustine, but things just have a tendency to happen this time of year. So you just always got to expect the unexpected. Let's go ahead and go to this view right now. You can see our risk area, the yellow zone up there. Just things didn't materialize quite as nasty as we could have maybe had, but we did have some damage in Randolph County. I know we were talking about here earlier on. So again, just gonna continue to be watching things. I know we were watching that storm earlier on, and those reports have come on in to the Weather Center. So I know, let's go ahead and check some other things though right now here. I'm trying to check some of our different sources because we're getting some information on in here. We're getting some information on in here. I know of some tornado warnings in the state of Michigan. So let's pop this up. We'll take the risk off because it gets kind of confusing. We have that up there right now. We want to try to give you guys a look at what's going on here. As we get up toward that state, there's a tornado warning in play right now for, looks like, Shiawassee County until about, let's see here, 8:45 Eastern time. And then a tornado warning for areas of Livingston and Genesee County there until about 9:30. So I know there's been some nasty weather. It looks like the Cleveland Browns preseason NFL game being delayed tonight. It seemed because of weather. I hadn't really double checked, but there's a delay, and we had some accident, even tornado warning west of there earlier on. So seeing some light in the vicinity. So I would suspect that's the cause. As we see there, Flint, Michigan, some heavy downpours there. And we go over to the east, you see Cleveland as I kind of leave it behind. But there's look at some flooding even toward Cuyahoga County and Ohio. So let's get back to the south. I know the Tampa Bay Bucks having a preseason game tonight. The weather's doing pretty good for them. Some years not so much, but this time around it's doing some pretty good things in terms of staying away from that area as they take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. But as we get back up to the north, I see that there's some lightning out just west of Liberty County now. Seeing here some heavy downpours south of Bluntstown. So just getting some of those rumbles of thunder. Got to be careful from that. In our far western zone, some areas have seen the atmosphere worked over, but some of the areas have just really volatile conditions still. So that's why we're seeing stuff pop up so late. Look at that eastern area there, the southeast Georgia zone and northeast Florida zone. That can be problematic here at times. Really, I mean, you just gotta be weather aware in these type of situations. Just gotta be weather aware. So let me go ahead and get back on over here to our other view. And this is that warning here for St. Augustine. I might check some more cameras though. As we get away from the interstate, you're not going to be able to see. I mean, as this gets away from the interstate, you're not going to see because these cameras are at the interstate. kind of be on the back side. Of course, the winds may kind of be on that leading edge here, right? Starting to come through town now, really downtown. But it's not 100% certain, I don't think, at this present point. So let me go ahead and keep checking here some of our tools in our toolkit. Okay, let's go to I-95 International Golf Parkway. And you'll be able to see here what's going on as we get out there. It is nasty. It doesn't give you a great look, except it just shows it's nasty, I think. So pop that on the screen. So there you go. Look at that rain just coming on down there. Definitely making for a nasty night there. And all those flashers on. In this area. You see the slow traffic could lead to car accidents. But we have just learned a bit of good news. They have canceled the severe thunderstorm warning for St. Johns County all the way here. That warning's been canceled. It was set to go to 9:30, but apparently it has been done away with here. So, big surprising because I didn't think it was 100% definitive, but maybe they have it going over a site there. It's possible there's a site that they just maybe got a measurement from that wasn't as impressive as they thought. So, kind of maybe peeking on that and maybe starting to fall apart again. So, that'd be some good news. But you see the traffic. I mean, the traffic doesn't matter if there's a warning. Traffic's going to be bad sometimes when you have storms around at night. And you see that's the case here. I-95 International Golf Parkway. So, again, continuing to give you guys the latest to protect you, your friends, and your family here. Let's move away from this shot. There's your warning that's no longer there. There's no yellow box, my point. So we'll move our attention away from that area. And then even there's a lot of heavy downpour accident along the interstate. The winds maybe not quite as well together as they were. Not that they were really overwhelming, but we thought maybe they could kind of strengthen some more. And there might have been some strengthening in there. But let's see if there's a site here. Is there a temperature up here? So not really necessarily that we would see on here. But they're maybe looking at weather stems and not getting numbers they were expecting at the Weather Service in Jacksonville. That might be what they're doing. Not really sure of it. Let's go up to the north here. That would make the most sense. As we go ahead and go toward parts of Glenn County. We're looking here at some area of wind enhancement right along I-95. We don't have a camera up here that we can go to a live view, unfortunately. But it seems like the worst is missing Brunswick here, which is good. But you still have areas right around the airport, precisely. In fact, and when I see Brunswick, I mean downtown Brunswick. Brunswick kind of stretches on out here on it with the geography. But the airport up here and this airport, McKinnon Airport, will be not quite as much of an impact. They're in the warning as well whenever thunderwords go indoors. But one Glencoe area might get a little bit heavier, a little more volatile of conditions coming on right now around Glencoe, or further from the radar as well. So be interested to see what observation we get on that site. 28 was the one at about 35 past the hour. But let me go ahead, see what we have here. We're going to keep looking. Don't see a lot on that radar, but it's so far. And let's go to Charleston. Well, you don't want to use this one. It's too far, probably, unfortunately. So that kind of hurts us there. But again, I'm just going to keep you updated here. This morning technically goes to 9:30 now. Kind of doubt, since they canceled the one for St. John's, that they'll keep this one all the way to 9:30. But we'll keep checking here for the very latest, just to make sure. This does have some wind enhancement, maybe a downburst in there, maybe a downburst. Not out of the question here, as this goes across I-95 in parts of Glenn County. So, looking at our 62 counties right now, there you go. You can see Glenn County there. As we get north of there, that's the Charleston jurisdiction, McIntosh, and that is not part of a covered area toward Darien, Georgia, but let's get back up here. As we zoom out, I'll see where Darien is. It's up here. The worst is to the south of them. And so that's the good news. But that for them in that area, just outside of the covered zone. But again, just thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me here on this Friday night. You can see here, looking at things, Dock Junction, heavy downpours in that area. Definitely a storyline for those folks. So, something to kind of keep our eyes on there. By the way, tornado warning situation in Michigan while we're on. Let's just give you an update on it. There's not a watch up there as a last check, but a tornado warning, possible tornado, weaker one probably possible as we get toward US 23 in Michigan there in Livingston County. just their northern part, just south there of Genesee County, or it might be Genesee. I think it's Tennessee. I'm sorry, I don't know why I called it that. I mean, I think I've heard it pronounced Genesee County. I apologize, but that's just how it is national severe weather. We're not going to know the pronunciations for sure, but I believe that is Genesee County here, up just to the north, and then this would be Livingston County. So we're not on for this. Just thought I'd give you an update. We're looking at Detroit, Michigan radar. There may be the beginning of something there with a debris signature, but it's not conclusive at all here. I wouldn't think. It may be something right there, possibly. But we don't know. By the way, as you, I'm sure, heard here at this point, we've talked about it some, but it's been a national story here for the last few days almost now. Not quite 3 days, but not quite 72 hours. But the devastating wildfire situation, efforts continue there as we look toward Maui County and the Lahaina area. That death toll there, the official death toll continues to rise, and our thoughts and prayers remain there as with that area, as it was just such a devastating situation. The wildfire situation took off just so quickly. The winds there, coupled from Hurricane Dora and high pressure, really that contrast there. We had the winds funneling on in and caused devastation there with the spreading of the fire conditions so quickly. So just thought we'd kind of emphasize that again as we get back toward our local view. So seeing this warning continue there toward Glenn County and toward St. John's. They did just go with an advisory now. So they canceled the warning, but now going with an advisory on winds to 40, warning 60, the base one that we had. But this is for winds to 40 all the way through Flagler County now and through that 9:15 benchmark. So we'll just continue to watch things there as we get toward the nation's oldest city there, St. Augustine, Florida, and St. Johns County. So again, just going to keep watching things here to protect you, your friends, and your family. Going to look at some different notes here. See if we have anything new. I see a marginal risk update here. It is coming on through. See what that kind of entails here. So officially that risk there up in toward Georgia. That risk up in toward Georgia still, but lower than some of that risk that we had that we weren't seeing much in. There's the risk still for Tallahassee though, as that area in toward Liberty County that is moving off in a little bit in toward that area, but let me check the exact direction on that. So it looks more like it's moving south generally, but again in Liberty County, possibly a little of the advisory they have is actually not really getting in there too much, but we'll continue to watch the progress of that, obviously, just in case something were to arise out of that in terms of a warning. Probably something we just posted about based on the low population density in our far western counties, unless there's something more aggressive there. We're always on for any tornado warning storm within our 62 counties, but not really expecting that at this point. I haven't had tornado warnings really around here for a bit, and that's generally the story this time of year, unless there's a tropical system or what we had in June, the bazaar set up there for a couple weeks. But that was not something that was around here really much in historic history, past details, right? I mean, what I'm trying to say by that is that was atypical. So, okay, we just got an update. Glenn County, they're keeping no warning. They're keeping no warning for Glenn County now. So let's see what we got here. Still some stronger winds around Dock Junction. You can see around US 25 there, around Community Road, around South 25, maybe State Road 25 South. It has the S on our system, but I believe that must be State Road 25 in there. As we continue to watch, continue to track things here for a little bit longer. So this update here in the morning was for the continuing threat here, some 60-mile-an-hour winds at 8:53. A severe thunderstorm was located over Country Club Estates or over Dock Junction. Went southeast at 10 miles an hour. Brunswick, St. Simons Island, Dock Junction, St. Simons Island Village, Country Club Estates, Sea Island, and Boys Estate. So again, I'm going to continue to watch that here. The progression of it just a little bit longer. Some wind enhancement right in here, but really Even out here or back in here, we could be getting some stronger conditions reaching down toward the surface. I mean, anywhere in the Polygon technically, but it's probably more likely down here versus up here, based on the latest radar assessments. But heavy rain there on Dock Junction. Again, getting toward US 17 there. Later on toward the McKinnon Airport, possibly, and then Sea Island. That could be an area that gets impacted. I know they're not that close to radar, so it's hard to see exactly how strong these winds are. Be curious if we get a gusty or higher at Glencoe, that would kind of help verify things. Right now, only 28, so that's not enough for a warning, obviously, if that was all we were getting down to the surface. But it's possible we're getting isolated areas that are a little bit stronger within here. So, gotta be kind of careful. Gotta be kind of careful here as we're looking at the Doppler radar as we get the latest update here on the situation. Let's go back down to St. Augustine. Those strong storms in toward that area right now. Got some gusty winds coming in, but they dropped the warnings. So that's why we're not focusing our attention as much on St. Augustine and Volano Beach and St. Augustine Beach, but still a little bit of lightning and some heavy downpours in that area and some gusty winds. We got to be kind of careful as we're looking there toward that area of our viewing circle. But let's get back to the north. Again, around Brunswick there, around Glenn County. You can see around Dock Junction there, some heavy downpours in Dock Junction. State Road 303 there, getting into those, and up toward US 17. We're just continuing to watch the progress of this here, just to see if it causes any damage here. Let me see if there's any power outages being noted right now. Bear with me here. See if there's any updates. I'll check our Georgia power outage numbers. Not really seen any so far in Glen. We had some outages in Grady and Seminole and Darty earlier on with some storms. Not necessarily where we were focusing our attention with some of those warnings as much, but few indicator we did have some focus. But Glenn County, just one customer so far in the dark. That could change though. Different boundaries that kind of play a role here sometimes. Let me take the Georgia power site directly to see if there's anything new. I know a few scattered outages here and there across Georgia, but let me just kind of keep looking here. Okay, so there are about 5 customers in the dark around Brunswick now. Not many, but that could go up pretty quickly. The situation is not one where things just kind of hold steady sometimes. They are fluid, and things can kind of escalate pretty rapidly. Not much I'm starting to add a little downpour here earlier. Very renegade, but let me go ahead and bed this up. You can kind of see some interactions. I know it kind of is a little bit further back as we're going, but you can kind of see the progression there. Some of the stuff was further west earlier on and getting east, and now some of it's weakening. But and up to the north, you see some interaction as well, and again the strengthening because of that. They're getting some maybe upscale growth. I know I see Bay County, Panama City had a gust of 41 around 7:46 Central Time there. That just came down. Kind of interesting to take note of. Again, trying to give you guys the very latest. So there you go on the scan. The heavy downpours are still around Dock Junction. We're just going to have to keep watching everything, not seeing any type of, any signature that is alarming correlation coefficient. That's the good news, but we're staying with you guys as we're always on when we need to be, and always on for any tornado warning storm in our area. On Facebook there, Casey Cloud WX, Cloud Weather, Twitter at Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch there, Cloud Weather, and you have the website, cloudweather.com, that live tab there gives you some information, but I suggest on the homepage you get some different links there to the different platforms. If you have, maybe when you prefer, it might just be easier to go there. If you're watching on one of the other ones, just go there and then kind of choose that way. And then that's a radar tab on there. That's kind of helpful for when we're not on there. You can track some things as they move across our region. By the way, not that we would be on for this otherwise, but there is some action in Michigan. A new tornado warning is popping up for areas of Oakland County in Michigan now. Possible tornado threat moving in there closer to the radar site. So there's around Benton, Michigan to Holly, Michigan could be impacted over the next little bit. We just got to be kind of mindful. It might be pretty weak, the circulation, the spin, but That's going to be going north of Pontiac, northwest of Pontiac for now, but potentially north of Pontiac toward areas there across Oakland County. So that's a national story there. But back to our local story and the reason we're on. We had the warning in St. Johns County, but that got canceled early by a good margin, a good ways there. But you see our threat still in toward Glenn County. We're just going to stay with you a little bit longer. Not moving fast at all. Movement with this is only southeast at 10 miles an hour. Very slow mover here. The worst of this may still be back here somewhere. Not out of the question. Just gotta be kind of watching that there around. It looks like Tom Avenue there, maybe. You pronounce it like that, and Cypress Mill Road. Say Road 25 South. So it's gotta be kind of careful in that area. Trying to give you guys the very latest. Let's just see if there's anything new here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out. You see toward Camden County. Some stronger winds there, upward about 30 miles an hour, someone up there. That'll be about crossing 995 here in a few moments. And then again, going back to the north, though, you can see that wind enhancement, some of that there. There are some pretty popular areas there. You see the density involved in the topography, so that's something to bear in mind here. And we'll just have to continue to track it here. Continue to track it. It's all about protecting you, all about protecting your friends, and all about protecting your family. So down to the south, maybe a little bit of enhancement here in the velocity showing up, but not as much as the rain at this point. So could get a little bit of gusty winds on the edge or just outside of the thunderstorm warning. I know of a marine warning there for some of those areas to get further on over, but nice if a thunderstorm warning, but continuing to watch. And I wouldn't necessarily expect severe winds down here, but it's just a situation where we're seeing some interesting signatures start to emerge in velocity a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on it. We are seeing a little bit of growth that way, possibly, as kind of move our radar around. Let's just kind of go to the current view and scrubbing back. You can kind of see a little bit of growth there on that tail end per se. So we'll watch, we'll track it. Again, the warning tentatively in play on 9:30, and let's get that current view. Just as I go back and forth a bit more, yeah, we're seeing some development here. Looks like pretty quick development, actually, kind of filling the gap a little, which could get some of that wind down to the surface there, further down toward the south. But may not be quite severe, may just make a strong thunderstorm situation for these areas, really, hopefully. We don't end up having severe. That'd be good news, but pretty highly populated area right now in Glenn County under this threat, a part of our 62 counties. Let's look at ZDR to see the upscale growth here. You see it down to the south zone. Some strengthening going on. And that's what you would anticipate here based on some other signatures that we're getting. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out now. We'll go ahead and go to the other perspective. You see that margin of risk? You see the stuff there just on the edge of Liberty County, moving more out of there, but I mean, it's not moving out directly, if you know what I mean. But what I'm trying to say is that it's not really into toward Liberty too much into much population. It's kind of drifting a little bit into our area, though. Maybe a little bit of easterly movement combined with a southerly movement that Weather Service is tracking, but we'll watch, we'll track. All the instability here a factor, and then you see some infrared satellite. I'm going to try to refine this a little bit. You see some quarter cloud tops. We saw some of that toward St. Johns County, toward Glenn County, Georgia. Less so to the west now, but just some of it visible. Not going to pick up things now, but earlier on you can see how we had some breaks in the cloud in certain areas, but more of a mass there towards southwestern Georgia. But now it's not going to get visible because the sun's set. So again, now we're starting to get a hail signature developing. Did they mention hail in this? They did not last check, but they may start to mention the hail threat escalating a bit as we just started to see that pick up there in that area of growth there. Let's move it right into toward Brunswick proper, really. So we gotta be kind of careful there. England County. Let's keep going back and forth here between these vantage points just to let you guys know what's happening. And this will be off the coast here pretty soon, but it's moving so slow, it's really a snail's pace. A lot of time this stuff be moving a lot quicker and we wouldn't have to deal with it this long. This could cause some flooding there in Brunswick here. Let's look at rainfall. Back out of the western area is getting an inch there pretty quick, and then down here over an inch, and might get some flooding in St. Augustine, but probably not much at all at this point because a lot of that really decayed, the heaviest downpour as they were heading into town. That's one of the reasons they dropped the warning, but still some winds in there hanging around in the 40 range, give or take. So the flooding threat probably off for St. Augustine, but could end up getting some of that for Brunswick here. Keep that in mind. You see some of these amounts there, about a third of an inch so far, but that could be underestimating just a little bit. As this comes across town, technically this warning still goes to 9:30. That takes its time here in this type of scenario. So, again, trying to give you guys the very latest. Okay, a new warning now. Okay, new warning just being issued by the Weather Service in Jacksonville now to 9:30 for Camden, England County as a area quite a bit further south, I think, is trying to have that potential they wanted to really cover. I know they covered this area, but just covering down here just in case we get some more growth down there as well. So it looks like at 9:05, severe thunderstorms still located near Brunswick, moving east at 20. Of some areas like Brunswick, St. Simons Island, Dog Junction, St. Simons Island, Village, Sea Island, Jekyll Island, Country Club Estates, and Dover Bluff being impacted. But now, instead of this, just the Brunswick area to the north, downtown north, you're getting all of Brunswick included in this warning thread now. Both of these warnings here, when you combine them, that's what you get. So that's kind of the new story. It's really over Brunswick. Here's some of the worst of the conditions at this point in time. Some nasty, nasty weather right across Brunswick there in Glenn County right now. Part of our 62 counties, trying to keep you guys safe and informed here. Seeing the different interactions taking place and causing some issues as we look here. Let's go to hail tracker, I think, if we can. Getting hit about an inch and a tenth there in diameter possible right there toward Brunswick as we're looking at things. So could cause some issues right in town. A pretty volatile storm based on a little bit higher radar scan, not right there on the radar scans, but a little bit higher scan suggesting a more volatile situation could be happening right in Brunswick. Not out of the question. Although we have some mornings in central Alabama that I'm seeing. We'll have to see if you have the energy to get this further south. Probably not in our area because it's been walked over. But 70-mile-an-hour winds possible around Chilton, Shelby, and Coosa counties. So that's the storyline for those folks that are having to watch. Yeah, you see the energy really drops off. So this shouldn't really hold together unless it can ride the boundary and it'll be west of our area anyway. So, but we're getting reports of damage there. Several trees down in houses in Jefferson County, Alabama. He heard about stuff like that, obviously. That can always be problematic. And on our outbreak the other day, we had some folks lose their life and weren't necessarily the exact causes you would have expected there in the exact areas you would have expected. That was back on Monday. So it's kind of interesting to take note of. Giving out 2 warnings toward the Brunswick area. That threat always come together over Brunswick here. You see a little bit of green and red, honestly, trying to come together, which is interesting. When you get these mergers, very rarely, hadn't happened much in recent years, or this year at least, but it's occasionally you can get a quick spin up tornado threat with a tornado warning in play. I don't think we'll get that, but it's not something we can completely rule out here at this point toward southeastern Georgia. So we just got to be kind of careful around Brunswick here in Glenn County. I said there's thunderstorm warning throw. We have 2 warnings here. I'm putting both go to 9:30, but for another 21 minutes, we had this potential of some danger here continuing around Brunswick here in our viewing circle. I know, pretty long fuse situation. So look at our ZDR, you can see how we've had some of this growth here maybe, and down there. Well, we're getting some development too, though. That's going to be in more unpopulated zones further out here This is the more populated area. This here is pretty unpopular, as you can tell. Maybe a few areas here from homes, but this is really where our focus needs to be based on the damage potential and the population density overlap. I mean, going up into here a little bit too. I mean, right through town. This is some really nasty stuff coming across Brunswick. I would suspect the power outage numbers are going to go up. Looks like Augusta 24 there a little while ago more than McKinnon Airport. Yeah, you got a little bit of rotation there now. That's actually starting to really present a signature where they're going to at least, I don't know if they'll actually do it. I would probably lean against them doing it, but they could issue a tornado warning on something like this in theory. I don't know if it's necessary. Again, I would kind of lean against it right now, but make sure that's not anything crazy there. That's not debris, I don't think, because that's just the way the angle is on here. Yeah, that's not debris, but we have to have a little bit of rotation here, right, in toward some populated zones. I mean, just gotta be kind of careful here because we've had situations before we get spins that get a little bit stronger right near the coast. So I know we weren't really expecting a tornado. If there are no tornado warning, no tornado possible tag from the Weather Service officially, and I would lean against it actually being a tornado with this, but we're actually getting some greens and reds trying to come together a bit here. At 3,000 feet, it's not that close, but it's not far enough to say that it's impossible, I don't think, with the interaction we've got the last few minutes here. It's not, and the way that it looks on the radar, it matches up fairly well. I mean, you couldn't completely rule out a very quick spin up to the winds with the storm wouldn't be that much weaker than what you would get in a tornado, so no matter what. So a little bit more enhancement, obviously, though, with that vortex or with that vortex really. So again, just gonna have to keep on watching things. Just have to keep on monitoring things. And I'm just sticking with it. I wish we could wrap it up here, but we can when we have a storm that looks like this on our algorithms, on our Doppler technology, because it's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. Yeah, we're getting a rotation tracker really picks it up well. I mean, the algorithm, the computer system that didn't understand its setup thinks that this is a significant area of rotation. Based on that, a tornado warning would be issued, but that's not how things work. The Weather Service evaluates things. And okay, what they've done now here, and I think this is probably the right step, they've issued an update to the warning, an amendment per se, to add a tornado possible tag, but not go with a tornado warning yet, because the rotation's not quite tight enough. If it gets a little tighter, then maybe they do it, but they're not going to do it yet here. But if you were just going by the algorithm, of course you say that's a tornado, but there's some different things that wouldn't make you think there's actually a tornado, but they're now going with a tornado possible tag in this. So what they're saying there at the Weather Service is that it's not out of the question. Make sure for your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. So Brunswick, St. Simons Island, Dock Junction, St. Simons Island Village, Sea Island, Jekyll Island, Country Club Estates, and Dover Bluff here. At 9/11, a severe thunderstorm was located near Brunswick, moving east at 20 miles an hour. So, again, got some rotation with this. We need to be careful because if we get another scan, these numbers like go up more. We get brighter colors together here, and they probably would go with a tornado warning, I would think. But these maybe not quite bright enough. 25 one way, 25 the other way, maybe as high as 37 if you really go up there. That you start to get on the edge of a weaker tornado threat here, especially as we're looking a little bit further up, but not too far up. So it gets a little bit tricky here. We got to be kind of careful, but in our local counties, of course, it's our policy to always be on for a tornado warning storm within our 62 counties, as they've done it for every one since late 2019 as they moved on through our zones. But this isn't tornado warned right now, but there's enough concern with it. We're sticking with it as we do for many severe thunderstorms anyway, but this is on the cusp of that. So hopefully we don't get it. That latest scan didn't really change much, maybe just a tad weaker. I thought maybe, well, I say scan, actually, I think our system just reevaluated some things here. I didn't really, it kind of tried to change the enhancement on things a bit. So let's wait here because, so it didn't really get a new scan, I don't think, which is a little bit interesting. We have to kind of deal with that, but it's just reading some of the colors a bit differently there. So we'll have a new scan on that soon. Another heavy rain's riding that area now. This is a really nasty thunderstorm. Whether there's a tornado, which is, there's a low chance of that. That's why there's a tornado possible tag. We have some heavy downpours here and some lightning. in play here for sure, and some gusty winds. So there's a new scan. Yeah, that's not as tight as it was, and it's actually dropping south a little. I know that's the angle kind of tracking this, but it's not the typical maybe angle you would think this would take in some ways. You'd think it'd be heading more east, but that circulation that's trying to develop is headed a little more southeasterly as it's kind of taken off there now. I think it's kind of falling off some, as that kind of would be moving to more unpopulated areas anyway. So that's the good news, because it could have taken a turn a little more. The warning was east, and at one point I think we had a warning that says southeast here. Not the newest one, no, but I think that one in the north was southeast, and yeah, and if it was headed just due east or take a northeast jog, like even the algorithm's saying, then it would head right into more town. But it looks like that little spin that spun up is kind of dropping south and weakening it, and that's really unpopulated. Again, it's a big difference, because if this would have maybe strengthened as it went across some bodies of water and came right into town, and you could have a tornado right in Brunswick here with really not much of a heads up, other than this a thunderstorm warning, of course, but not be a tornado warning there. Maybe coming right when it's happening, but again, right now it went the opposite way. Good news here, folks. Good news on the latest scan of that Doppler radar technology. That's what we like to see here, that breaking up. So the tornado threat is not an official tornado warning, but they added the tornado possible tag. I feel like that's dropping. Let me see if there's any type of debris signature in case we had something hit that you just couldn't really see. I'll back this up here, and then we'll kind of go forward. That wasn't anything. I know it. Maybe you didn't know how to read a radar, you might think that one here is something, but it's just the inflow per se, probably, and a little more typical to see on a supercell. But even there, you can kind of make that out. Again, okay, so we're still getting updates to try to protect you, your friends, and your family. Let's see what we got here. Again, still some strong winds. I think the strongest winds maybe stand now away from the most populated zones. Might have had them in there for a moment. It just kind of developed. Could have knocked a few trees down. I don't think that's out of the question here by any stretch of the imagination. So something to kind of keep in mind. Hopefully, folks are doing okay there. Didn't really go over the wind center, so I don't know if we're going to get a good evaluation on that. But again, continuing to watch things here. Let me check some power outage numbers. No, not seeing too many still yet, but from before this really started to take off a bit. So let me see if I can get an update. Okay, so 84 customers in the dark, 85 customers around Brunswick, according to Georgia Power. Less than 5 around Glen Cove, but toward Country Club Estate, it looks like about 23 customers. So a few folks have lost power, and it's been logged here, but not an overwhelming amount being reported in yet. It could go up some, though, over the next few moments. Again, still watching things here. Trying to give you the latest to protect you, your friends, and your family. This is in the Jacksonville TV market, by the way, if you're wondering. But I know Savannah stations kind of try to cover this area some, too. I know outside of our area, 46 mile an hour gust reported at 8:14 Central Time at FSU Panama City's weather station. That's kind of interesting to take note of. Not in our areas I'm referencing, but you're getting some gusty winds down there reported. Now, it's been almost 5 years, a couple months away from that 5-year anniversary of Michael, if you can believe it. Time goes pretty quick, but for those folks, maybe it didn't go as quick because of just the damage and destruction and the aftermath, and even the human toll, that loss of life that occurred down there as well. As we get back over toward Jacksonville's radar, that radar site. Again, there's still some broad spin here, but I'm not as concerned as I was because that's pretty unpopulated out here. Might not be. I mean, right here you might get somebody, but even then, it doesn't look like. I mean, if it's just the thing on a Friday night, if this would have taken that jog to the northeast, then that would have been a problem if it would have tightened, because that could have really caused some injuries here. But instead, it's kind of a different way, and it's continuing to broaden, which is what we like to see. So that's good news. The warning still continues. I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon here. But I may just write it out in case something gets a little crazy. If we get some type of little spin still back on here, we don't want to be in a situation where we're not able to get back on very quickly for a tornado warning. It's be in the water pretty soon. And if a water spout wouldn't have a tornado warning anymore, and then we could be kind of putting some folks here, maybe just a few folks, but still some folks within our covered area at rest there for a couple moments by not being able to give that tornado warning quite quick enough here. So got to kind of keep that in mind. Probably stick with it here until they let a severe thunderstorm warning go. That'll probably go away at 9:30 based on our latest scans, because I think it surged upward now. I think it's starting to surge back down. You can kind of see a little bit with our upscale growth product. You can kind of see there. We've had some of that growth there. Now I think it's starting to kind of be just a heavy thunderstorm here. Maybe some gusty winds in here. Could still be severe. But I think it's not quite as powerful maybe as it was 5 or 10 minutes ago. It was Roy coming together and getting his act together. But gotta be careful. Okay, so let's keep checking things. Gonna check Georgia power again. Still checking things here. It's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. I know sometimes we don't talk for a few seconds because we're just trying to gather the latest information here, but trying to get those Georgia power numbers. So 23 customers in the dark, Country Club Estates. Less than 5 customers toward Dock Junction. Less than 5, it looks like close to Lord Little St. Simon's Island. 85 in North Brunswick proper. That's on, again, Georgia power, but early on in the situation. So, again, still watching things. They may do an extension. This is a heavy thunderstorm. And with as much purple that's still trying to show up here, they could do a 9:45 or 10 o'clock extension to get us off the coast with this. For a thunderstorm warning, probably take the tornado possible tag away, unless we started to get these greens and reds to pick up a little bit more down here. But again, I just continue to watch things here for a little longer as we're in this area. Let's see if there's any questions from any of the viewers at home. I know we're trying to give you guys everything you need here to protect you, your friends, your family. Don't see anything right now, but thanks for tuning in. So again, still watching some of these greens. Not quite as bright of reds here. Again, we have greens and reds try to come together. That indicates rotation, and we had the brighter colors come together right in there for a scan right around US 17, where that's about the time we had the tornado possible tag issue there. You can see something there that's a little bit busier, maybe being in the focus area. But again, continuing to watch things here. So let's see what we got. Okay, nothing new here still, but we're gonna keep checking. So, into town in Brunswick itself, not quite as volatile right now, I do not believe. But we still just got to be kind of monitoring things here, just in case. So I'm going to keep checking here, at least a little bit longer. Don't see anything new still, but that's good actually, because if we started to see new stuff, that could indicate some damage being reported in. But again, you see some greens and reds here. Okay, that actually got a little bit tighter on that tail end just now, which is interesting. Again, there's less population down there, but that's starting to wrap back up actually, just a little bit. And that would impact maybe a few folks down here right at the coast. So, gotta be careful here a few more moments then. Gotta be careful for a few more moments. Can't let our guard down. So again, looking, this is south of State Road 50. In here, again, you see a little bit of spin with this right on that tail end. Again, as you watch, it was tied up here and it kind of spun down. And now we've had the greens and reds to try to tighten again. And that would be in a fairly favorable slot for this to try to maybe produce a very, very quick weak spin up. Don't see any debris or anything like that though, which is good news. It's kind of on that tail end, so gotta be careful. Again, looking in here, don't have much population down here, but this little tail end there, right of the coast, if we had something, it could do a little bit of damage, so keep that in mind right in here. If you're familiar with your local topography there in eastern Glenn County, just be mindful. It could get something really quickly trying to develop on us, but it would have to happen in an instant here. I mean, not saying it couldn't. We've had stuff happen near this coastline before. It hadn't been something that we've seen maybe lately, but got to be kind of mindful. They may extend a warning then on this just because of what we're seeing. I mean, I'm probably more like a severe thunderstorm, one with a tornado possible tag being a little more likely again versus not. So, got to be kind of mindful of that. Again, checking more of our resources. If there's anything new. Again, no new information coming on in, but again, let's just keep checking here. I want to check some different radar angles again. Let's check the Moody, because we don't want to just be dependent on one of them. There is some broad rotation in that one at a little higher level. And then as we get here from Charleston, let's see if there's some rotation on that. And, well, yeah, there is on that one as well at 11,000 feet. So, kind of been, I'm going to go back to Jackson. I'm going to check all the tilts in. That is interesting. When you have that at those multiple levels like that, that could indicate something a little bit more possible happening down toward the surface. This, I mean, that was a little higher, you see. This one's here at about 2,700 feet or so. That's about 4,200 feet had a rotation. Rotation's still at 5,500 feet. Same story at 7,500 feet. A little bit of spin there. And then you get up there, you still see it. So that's what you look for sometimes. If it's not just an anomaly, it actually is spinning to some degree here, at least closer to the surface. Now, that actually getting toward the surface like that, probably not, but you can't completely rule it out. Again, looking here, actually starting to get at the border. I think we're in northern Camden County now. I think I've had this trouble before. Right when we get right to the line here, it's a little bit tricky, but I think it's kind of, yeah, it was just there in toward Glen, and now I think it's left. This is just into Camden out here. But then this area would be back into Glen, I believe, because that's your delineation right there. And if this could kind of jog eastward somehow. But then there's some homes out here, it looks like. But I think it's missed those here. Yeah, at least it's already gone through that area. So again, some greens and reds are still watching. No new word from the Weather Service here on if there's a new warning that's in play. Again, we're at 9:28, so about a minute or so before that decision would have to be made. I mean, probably already being made at this point. It's just a matter of putting it out because we're in a situation here where it takes a moment for our system or any system to be able to transmit that. So, again, just continuing to give you guys the latest here. Let me go ahead and keep checking. So this warning does still go for another minute or so for the indicated areas of Camden and Glen. Just keep watching these scans. Don't see any debris, which is always a good sign. Just maybe that spin aloft. I mean, it was pretty apparent. Let me see if I can get the tilts here. I get one in the middle if I can. Yeah, we had that earlier too, that spin. And then the spin kind of trying to reemerge again. I mean, it's kind of concerning, so can't let our guard down. It's a very unpopulated area, but there are seemingly a few buildings or homes out here toward Camden and Glen. So we just got to be kind of careful in case a tornado warning were to be issued. So, okay, that latest scan, well, that is about the same as it was. It's getting closer now. Once it gets in the water, that's a marine interest, and that's not something we have to cover. So it's moving away from the coast. It's almost there at 9:29. So I made a scan, a little bit better news. They may do an extension of a thunderstorm warning for a small area here, like a tornado possible tag, but we'll wait and see. These two yellow boxes are supposed to go away here in a matter of seconds. There you go. Those went away for now, but let's give it another minute or two to make sure we don't get another warning issued here. Let's see what we get, or if we get anything, if we get an advisory that would tell us, well, okay, that'd be a little bit lesser of a situation potentially. That we do the rain warnings though. It's kind of covered these areas, but they may still want to do an advisory just to emphasize a little bit more of a lingering land impact for like 9:45 or something like that. Continuing to watch things, continuing to track. Let's just see here. Again, you see this, the broad greens and reds. Nothing too aggressive. So I'm going to go ahead and keep looking here. I know we're kind of silent here at points. It's just want to stick with this in case we had something in terms of a tornado warning. Don't think that's going to happen at this point, but we dropped the thunderstorm warnings. If the thunderstorm warnings had that tornado possible tag in there, that's good news, obviously. That's not on the board now. We still got to watch. I see rotation traffic's come down a little too, which is positive. Some positive news. No, we saw that tornado warning in Michigan. Never had a tornado warning around here, but we had a tornado possible tag. By the time we started seeing that rotation tracker, it came upward there for a few moments, right around Brunswick. I mean, we really got those numbers up. The algorithm said it was more significant. Maybe they even looked on radar now in some velocity in some ways. Right now, you see how it's tipped southeast and it's not as impressive. I mean, the scale is kind of tricky with this, but like a rotation scale of 1 to 20. Now, we don't generally go over the numbers with this because it doesn't always correlate quite right. Certain environments make things more favorable or less favorable, and this isn't the most favorable setup for this, but we actually had on here a rotation number that was over 20 a little while ago, which would indicate rotation. Doesn't mean indicating. It doesn't mean that there's a tornado. And now we're down here to about 8. So those numbers are kind of irrelevant. It's just those are the weakening, though, is my point. I'm just trying to kind of come up with some metric, and that's in our system. So instability is over 3,000 joules per kilogram right here near the coast. And I do have supercell composite, a little more than maybe I was thinking there, which is a factor. And a little bit of STP lingering in there, too. Significant tornado parameter, which is kind of intriguing as well. We don't always get that around here, so that can always be an issue. I mean, it's not just a complete anomaly that we got some rotation there. So, again, just trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on. I'm trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on to protect you, your friends, and your family. Okay, we just got an advisory now. So that means they're not, at this point, probably planning on this channel warning unless something re-strengthens. It's still 10:15, a pretty long fused one, I guess, just to get this really out of the picture and to be just really a heads up to folks in case this were to strengthen it. They've at least kind of provided some type of detail that something's not necessarily completely dissipated here. There's still a lot of lightning, especially southeast of the downtown area in Brunswick. So significant weather advisory now until 10:15. So at 9:32, Doppler was tracking a strong thunderstorm 7 miles southwest of Brunswick, moving east at 25 miles an hour. Wind gusts around 40 miles an hour and minor flooding due to heavy rainfall. Gusty winds could knock down tree limbs, blow around unsecured objects. Minor flooding due to heavy rain is possible. Brunswick still in there to some degree, as well as St. Simon's Island, Dock Junction, St. Simon's Island Village, Waverly, Sea Island, Jekyll Island, Country Club Estates, and Dover Bluff. So continuing to watch that area, you see a little bit of how bad it's up. You can see we're starting to get some back building, which is interesting. Right to the coast like this, that could cause some heavier rain here. To really be training over a few spots and delete a flood advisory, flood warning. If this was right over Brunswick proper, maybe a flash flood warning, but right now it looks like a little bit of the savage southern advisory box pop up. So just continue watching that road there. Joe Frank Harris Boulevard is where we're getting that rotation earlier on. Just for reference, in case something ends up happening in the local storm reports with some type of wind damage or otherwise. So thought we'd kind of just mention that there. We were getting that right to where that's but there's maybe a little greater displacement too, because we're not right there. We're looking from the Jacksonville site, which isn't that far away, but it's not right there at the lowest height. So, okay, the warning's no longer in play. No tornado possible tag. Down to an advisory. If we get another warning, we'll let you guys know. Either come on or post about it. It may linger a little longer into these coast areas, and with this advisory through about 10:15, it's kind of building back as well. Could get some type of flood alert. If it's a flash flood warning, we'll let you know. Otherwise, we won't have to. But just be careful. Remember, turn around. Don't drown if you're getting into an area with these higher waters there that could kind of impact you. As we've seen about 2 inches here pretty quick in some of these spots. So, see that tornado warning in Michigan went away too, so that's good. Had another tornado warning around here, but we did have the tornado possible tag. Still seeing some heavy rain in this area, so be kind of careful. We're getting that back building, so we'll just have to keep on watching the scenario. But I think we're going to wrap it. No warnings in play, other than special marine, of course, but no flash flood, tornadoes, or thunderstorm warnings in our covered area for now. If we need to come back for more, we will. We'll post that stuff on Facebook and Twitter if we need to just do that. Instead, there, you see all the different sources that we have here to provide you the latest to try to protect you, your friends, and your family. But for now, have a great night.